Self in the house. It's going to be, as your program puts it, the chance for you and me to ask questions and to also make comments, depending on what is it that we might have be curious about or that which we need clarification on. We are going to follow the program as is, except some few alterations here and there, but not much, and we expect to be done and out by 1600. 4 o'clock p.m. we expect to be done. We might be even way before then, depending on the deliberations that might take place. For the opening and the welcome, I've just been trying to take my time so that we don't have to rob others, and yet I don't want you to suffer for being early. You must be accorded the respect that you deserve for having respected time, and we really appreciate that, and we appreciate your presence. For an official opening of this event and the welcome, let me ask the director in the University of Limpopo Library, Madam Marian Williamson Southern, to come and open this officially and welcome all of us. Madam Southern Williams, over to you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. So as we celebrated Women's Day on the 9th of August, which paid tribute to a historical day in South African history, when women fought for their rights and their freedom. These were strong, resilient women who fought for their rights despite the dangers of this pursuit. We remember the 20,000 women who marched to the Union buildings in Pretoria in 1956 to stand their ground against the past laws. Gauging from the response from students as well as staff members as well as those online, a celebratory mood has been set as we commemorate those who have gone before us. We celebrate Women's Month under the theme of gender equality and recognizing women's rights. It is my task to welcome everyone to this event. The University of Limpopo and the author, Mr. Hosia Malekane, welcome you to the event, and we thank the author for entrusting the University of Limpopo to launch this book. The imperatives of revoking our silence. I want to welcome the university's executive management, Prof. Mokhalong, Professor Singh, and Prof. Madaji. Executive deans, executive directors, deputy directors, and managers, you are warmly welcome, and a special welcome to the library's executive director, Ms. Komochuma Popo. I also extend a welcome to the University of Limpopo's Women's Academic Solidarity Association, and they fall under the acronym of OWASA, who ensures to women becoming academically free. I also welcome the Gender Desk for their contribution and providing gender-related services to the university community. Furthermore, I welcome the Library and Information Services staff members, Marketing and Communication Division staff members, as well as the Student Representative Council. Students and staff of the University of Limpopo and invited guests, you are warmly welcome to this event. As this is a hybrid event, we welcome guests joining the event virtually. I want to acknowledge and welcome government officials, friends and family of Mr. Malekane, and of course the author, Mr. Hosia Malekane, who made this event possible. As the last day of Women's Month, this is an important day, and we are honored that you joined us here today. The University of Limpopo follows the footsteps of great men and women who have raised the banner in its fight against gender-based violence and will continue to do so. Although we are celebrating Women's Month in South Africa, there are still challenges that women are facing. The book is current and raises pertinent issues about the state of our country. Together, we will strive for women's and socio-economic rights, freedom, and empowerment. Let us make a difference and bring change to gender-based violence. Hosia Malekane writes out of a deep concern for the millions of young women who are subjected to gender-based prejudice, violence, sexual assault, and male duplicity. As a man, this author declares, I must voice my concern about the state of gender relations in our country. Misogyny has brought untold grief to our women. You are warmly welcomed, and thank you for joining us today as we launch the book, The Imperatives of Revoking Our Silence, authored by Mr. Hosia Malekane. Thank you and welcome.
That was Madam Marion Williams-Southern. Madam Southern, thank you for the beautiful welcome. Speech is silver, silence is golden. That is what we are told by the scriptures. But then there are times when that gold doesn't deserve to be displayed or accorded the status of importance. There are times when we have to speak out. And that's basically what the introduction and the welcome was all about. To say we are launching a book today that says, yes, silence is golden, but there are times when we have to speak and break that silence. Someone who's going to take us deep into this introduction that in the opening and the welcome, Madam Marion touched upon, who's going to take us now deeper into that. It's none other but the director of the gender desk. The University of Limpopo has a gender desk responsible for issues pertaining to gender. So the director of that will be taking us into the foreword of the book and the introduction of the speaker. So that before the speaker can come, we will have an idea of who the speaker, the writer, the author is. So afterwards, the author will be coming. But before then, the gender desk director will give us an introduction into the book, as I said, and I repeat, it's going to give a foreword, introduction of the speaker and the foreword. And the speaker, as I said, it's going to be the author. So we have, as the director of the gender desk, Reverend Dr. Nwako Johanna Rapakwana, who will be coming to give us the foreword and the introduction of the author. Afterwards, the author will be coming without me having to come back here. Please, a round of applause to welcome Dr. Rapakwana. Doctor, over to you.
Good afternoon to our VC and principal of the university, our DVC Prof. Singh, DVC Prof. Matache, all executive deans, the management of the university, the executive director of library and the staff of the library, all invited guests, including the author of our book, Mr. Malekane. I'm saying afternoon. We are here today, and also I just want also not to forget those who are linking up virtually. They are also greeted. Around the world, people organize events and improve cultural diversity, moral regeneration, and many other societal concerns. We are gathered here to launch a book that responds to what our president has referred to as the second pandemic in South Africa. Gender-based violence is a scourge that has invaded our everyday lives. It has now steadily encroached our campuses. In the past few years, our institutions of higher learning have been pervaded by horrible incidents of gender-based violence. We have lost young lives, young women who were destined to be our future leaders, were ached with their passing, and our condolences to their families. Let us hope that our grief will be tempered by remembering that they have gone to a better place. Mr. Malekane put it, misogyny has brought untold grief to our women. Ladies and gentlemen, let us, or every time when a book is brought into this world, people, a community or a nation is given a voice. Every great nation is grounded on a great literature, the culture of the storytelling, to teach lessons to younger generations and to build national memory. Much as we come from an oral history background, we need to treasure the advent of books and appreciate their longevity and persevering history in shaping the future. The book we are launching today bridges chasms between generations, fostering trust and respect between genders and sexual orientations. We thank Mr. Malekane for sharing his honest, uncensored thought and reflections. I hope to see much more books addressing gender-based violence. As gender desk of this campus, we appreciate the work done by Mr. Malekane and his contribution to fight the pandemic of gender-based violence. Who is Mr. Malekane? Hosia Malekane was born in Emalahleni, lived in Matiba State and Kwatema, but is now a resident of Johannesburg. Mr. Malekane matriculated at Sikitla High in Hammanskraal and is a BCom graduate from the University of Limpopo. He served articles of auditorship at Fisher Hoffman Stride and worked as an accountant at Highveld Steel, Galit South Africa, and Balos Caterpillar. He joined Old Mutual Properties as a property manager, later heading the development division. He ventured into business and is a co-founder and director of Dijalo Property Group and chairman of New Part Holdings. Malekane has a family with Mokgobeng. This consists of 3 sons as well as 2 grandchildren. He is the founder and the past secretary of Kwatema Socio-Economic Organization, an NGO that raises funds for Kwatema students who are struggling with university registration funds. He is a chairman of Imperatives Foundation and an NGO that inspires to ignite the collective of activists and survivors of gender-based violence, stirring them into being pillars of strength to end the scourge. And thank you, and over to you, our author, Mr. Hosia Malekane.
Greetings to all. My sincere gratitude to the leadership of the university for having afforded me this platform today to be able to speak to you on this very sensitive topic. My sincere gratitude to all those who were busy, involved in making this event a possibility. I know this has been a very busy month, especially for the topic that we are discussing today. They were heavily squeezed as they had already arranged for some other events. But I'm very grateful, especially the team from the library headed by Ms. Marion Williams. Thanks for pulling it off, and hope that it will be a gracious occasion for us to speak to one another. We grieve and are in bereavement on the early termination of the lives of our fellow students. Nosicelo Mthembeni from the University of Fort Hare, who was brutally murdered and dismembered by another human being. Uyinene Mrwajana of the University of Cape Town, Zolile Kumalo Mangosuthu University of Technology, Takalani Mbulenzeni University of Venda. We grieve for all those who are currently being abused, who are being harassed through concerted efforts of our fellow human beings on the basis of their gender or sexual orientation. GBV is a scourge creating a dangerous learning environment and cannot be left to chance. Our institutions of higher learning have just been through a traumatic times in the past few years. We are in the throes of a traumatic crisis that must be brought to a conclusive end. We all subscribe to the adage that prevention is better than cure. And I think the discussions today are directed towards adopting that mindset. Let's do something about it. I happen to have been here many years ago as a young man, and in my 3 years here whilst doing my BCom degree, we never experienced what is happening in today's world. So the issue is what went wrong. I'm going to be talking about the journey of writing the book, as the next speaker will be talking about the book itself. In 2019, I was amongst those South Africans who listened to the statistics from SAPS, which informed us that in the year ending 2018, 2,900 women were murdered in our country in that particular year. Of interest is that in the month of August, the same year, 30 women were murdered by their partners. Now, that to me implied that there was a relationship that resulted in those 30 women being murdered. And a relationship is where two people come together and purport to be in love. Now, one of the parties, and in this case it was the man, decided that because of a disagreement, because of a dispute, or because of some misunderstanding, or even something like cheating, that person took it upon himself, saying the most appropriate way to resolve the dispute, the disagreement, or the misunderstanding was to terminate the life of the other person. We all come from the adage that it takes a village to raise a child, which means that you have your mother who carries you for 9 months. She comes and then teaches you how to walk, how to crawl, how to talk, and grows you up. Sends you to school on a day for the teachers to take over and teach you an advanced manner of talking. They go and teach you English, they go and teach you mathematics. You have uncles and aunts who are there helping to raise you. You got your community, which is also looking forward to you being a grown-up. You pass your matric, and all of us, the village that has grown, raised you up, looks forward for you to go to a university and be a future leader, a community changer, for you to come back and be the change that they are looking forward to. Now, the picture that I've painted of the 30 partners that took it upon to do that, when they make that decision at that moment of misunderstanding, of a dispute, of a misunderstanding, they never reflected, where do you come from? The implication is that you belong to them. Whoever carried you for 9 months doesn't matter. Whoever raised you when you were at primary school, the teachers, the pastors that you went to church, the community that raised you, calling to order when you were misbehaving, all those people that are the village that raised you up, doesn't matter to that person at that spare moment. Those are the reflections that made me put pen to paper and say, this is unacceptable. We are human beings, we are evolving. In this country in particular, we come from a background where color was used to discriminate between us, where for some people, because of a specific color, they thought they were superior or better to the other people. Now we are confronted with a scourge where our gender differential makes one sector of the human race thinks that they are better than the other gender, to the extent where they can make decisions to terminate somebody's life just because that person is irritated, just because that person might be misunderstanding what happened. Like in the case of Nosicelo Mtembeni. That was a very horrendous episode in our lives. I located the book at university for those who will be reading it. And my view was that we need to address a certain bend in our growing up. We need to look at the most vulnerable at the moment. It is all those who are at the transformative stage. And that is, you are being transformed from adolescence into adulthood. And I took advantage of the fact that you are in a stage where you want to learn. All of you came to the universities as matriculants. But what we know is that in 3 years' time, you will have been transformed and converted into pharmacists, sociologists, educators, mathematicians, and physicians. But in the midst of that, of passing physics and mathematics and sociology, I thought we need to also bring the element of building character in each and every one of you. We need to bring issues that are going to be impacting on your character, not as a mathematician or a psychologist or a pharmacist, but as a member of a community. These horrible numbers that we were being fed every time. 2 weeks ago, our Minister of Police did announce that in the past 3 months, 90 women were murdered. Now, going back to the statistics in 2018, which said in August 30 women. So in 3 months, if it's 90, it means on a monthly basis, it is the same 30 that happened in 2018. So it's not changing. And it's upon us to take up this issue and start dealing with it so that we have to make a significant impact on these numbers. 2018 is about 3 years ago, and the numbers are still the same. So whatever has been done in the past 3 years has not had a positive impact. And each of us is supposed to be each other's keeper, your sister's keeper, your brother's keeper. And as to my fellow compatriots, the men, it is not enough just to say that I'm not an abuser. You are here for a purpose. If you are not, then look around you to the person next to you. And if you happen to see or hear any abuse taking place, it is upon you to do something about it so that we can address those horrible numbers that don't seem to be abating. I put down pen to paper on the book addressing our female students to say, you need to be each other, your sister's keeper. You don't have to be qualified in any other way to help a fellow student who is subjected to abuse. And for those that have been subjected to molestation, it doesn't help to sweep it under the carpet and say, no, because I had taken some cider, that's why it happened to me. Because if you do that, you are creating a monster. If he does that to you and you keep quiet about it, he's going to do it again and again. And sometime in the future, when that person is confronted by somebody who says no, it's going to result in a death of another human being. So if you keep quiet about it, just know, in the book it is said that you are in the process contributing and creating a monster that will come one day and haunt you. We don't have to keep silent. As the late Dr. Martin King Luther Jr. said, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. You're betraying your sisters, you're betraying your brothers, you're betraying your community where you're coming from, and you are betraying the nation. Silence is dangerous because it will end up in the numbers that we are being given. These horrific numbers come from somewhere. It is the area where people are very quiet. It has not yet happened to me. It has not yet happened to my sister. But it is bound to happen if none of us take measures and go and do it and attend to it with the urgency and enthusiasm that we adopted when we were battling the scourge of racial discrimination. In the book, I've got a recital on page 217, where I'm appealing to the male compatriots to say, just look back on it for you to start having a respect on the sanctity of life. In 1995, in our country, we abolished the death penalty. And amongst the many reasons, it was a question of saying no one has a right to terminate the life of another person, whatever they've done, misunderstanding, cheating, or what, but you have no right. That's why even if you kill a person in this country, we rather sentence you to a life imprisonment than to go and get Mr. Kumalo to come and pull the rope and hang you. No one, even Mr. Kumalo, Mr. Sitole, has the right to terminate the life of another person, whatever they have done. Now, that is in our Constitution. Unfortunately, we see it in many ways where we have great policies. We have a Constitution that is applauded internationally, but it is the implementation and it is the adoption of a society. For this society to say, let's take those grand policies that are in our Constitution and implement them. And to our guardians and our parents, they also have a role. Because some of us, this topic of gender-based violence, or just the distinction of femininity and masculinity, was never discussed in our homes. Bassett always said it is never too late to learn. Maybe this is the time addressing those horrible statistics that we need to start talking about it. Where you are addressed as a young man, that a no is a no. And you should never take a no as an insult on your integrity. When somebody says no, it doesn't mean that they are ridiculing you. They just don't understand your proposal. In our business world, we go to banks to go and apply for loans. And you put in a proposal, you have worked on it for 2-3 months. It is a dream that you have entertained for over 3 years or so. But the bank manager says, no, we can't finance you on this. We don't go out and kill the bank manager. We know he's got the money, but we don't do that. We take it back and go and sharpen your proposal. At some stage, as we go back and back, you do ask, what is it that I have to do for you to accept my proposal? What is it that I'm saying which is wrong? Why are you saying no? It is those discussions that must cascade into our everyday lives. When you approach somebody and saying no, you've got to get inquisitive, not angry, not be intimidated. And to the same male compatriots, we need to learn to live with rejection and not take it negatively. We need to go back and read and learn that in our lives, the journey will take twists and turns. There will be time when some of the people who were friends accompany you on a journey are going to come to a place when they have to get out of your life. When somebody says to you, it was nice whilst it lasted, but I'm getting off this journey, it should never intimidate you. You need to embrace it. You need to be saying, yes, I know I am hurt, like if you lose a friend. But it's not an insult on my credibility or myself as a human being. We all know we lose parents, we lose brothers, we do what? We take it with a pinch of salt. But it should never intimidate us to the extent where we take it upon ourselves to go to the extent of terminating somebody's life because they are telling you they are getting off the bus. They have the right, and it's at their discretion to do that. But these are the challenges that we need to embrace. And I think penning the book, it was to address some of us, as I said, we might have been deprived of literature of this extent. But I'm making it, that's my contribution, my humble contribution, to say you are going to be confronted in your life with a lot of no's. A lot of people in your life are going to say no and no and no. But you should never take it in a negative light to the extent where you become violent. It is part of life. And that is the message that I'm putting through. And I hope that it will be valuable and shape up some of us so that in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, we need to be looking back at those statistics at 2018 and say there has been contribution, the numbers have come down. Yes, there will always be incidents like those, but they should never be at the level where we are. We are amongst those societies or nations which have had the highest rate of GBV, and it is very, very unacceptable. And I'm appealing to you as the people in the transformative stage in your lives and to the leadership of the universities that they need to take advantage of the fact that most of you are going to be here for about 3 years. Besides teaching you physics and mathematics and psychology, if they can bring in this element which addresses your character and tell you that when you live here, you must know that you are going to be confronted with a lot of rejections out there. You're going to be putting your CVs and people are going to be, employers are going to be saying no to you, but you don't have to be violent about it. Your communities are not going to be saying no to you. There are friends in your lives who are going to adopt a negative light, but you've got to just move on and adopt a positive attitude. And as for those who are going to be in relationships, You might have the relationship here, but when you hit the workplace, you're going to be parting ways. But that has to be embraced. You need to demonstrate that character where you say, I have been transformed, I have been informed that such is going to happen, and you need to embrace it, because in doing so, you will be shaping up the society or the community in which you are going to live. The village that has sent you here is looking forward to you being the change that they desire. And I'm appealing to all those who are aspiring for an egalitarian society where all the genders, where all the people of different social, sexual orientation will live in harmony. Thank you.
Another beautiful round of applause, please. Thank you. We are told that Martin Luther King Jr., in his book, The Strength to Love, says that given the kind of education that we have learned to fly like birds, referring to aeroplanes, and to swim like fish, referring to boats, yachts, and submarines. But we haven't learned the simple art of living together as brothers and sisters. So today we are privileged to have this book launched, and where Dr. King here, he will say, this is the kind of education that is needed in our midst. The author just told us now that in this life, we will be confronted with a lot of no's, no. But he appeals and says, please, don't take it personal. Adopt a positive attitude. Don't be violent. Don't take it personal. Adopt a positive attitude that this is not meant for me. What's meant for me, I'm going to get. Let's not be violent. That is a background that he was giving us that gave birth to this book. The book is available on the premises. The retail price of this, when you go online or you go to Fanskyk, you will find that it is $260. This. I know you'll be going, oh, but it's a lot. No. The beauty with reading is when you have this, you have Hosia Malekane 24/7. Anytime you want him to tell you a story, you just open a page, he will tell you a story. And you only want him to shut up. You just say, hey, shut up, I want to sleep now. He listens to you. You are in charge, you are in control. So you look at the 280, oh, but 260, say, oh, but it's a lot, 260 is a lot. I tell you, you have this for life. It's going to even outlive you if you take care of it. A beautiful, beautiful, informative story, character building. On the premises, just on the foyer there, throughout the doors that you came into this hall, when you go out, you will see there is a desk where you registered. This, which is available for $260 out there, today because we have the author on the premises, it's 160. Aha, I know. Like, I forgot my money. Look, if your tell it's Van Skyke, the very same retailer that is selling the book, they brought it here, but out of the respect of the author, the price is 160. They use their petrol to come all the way here, but they respect the author. Say, the author it's in the house, so it's 160. But if you are going to buy this online, for those who are online, sorry about this, but if there is any way of you making arrangements with someone who's in here, you can transfer the money to that person. It can be bought right here. It's at the price of 160. And I believe the author will be there for an autograph. Just a sweet message in person to write it on the book that you would have bought, supporting him. Now that we got the background of the book, we are going to delve into the book itself. And the person who's going to help us with that is none other than a staff member of the University of Limpopo, based in the Department of Cultural and Political Studies, Mrs. Samokezi Mrubula Ngwenya. Mrs. Samokezi Mrubula Ngwenya will be taking us through the discussions. She has gone through the book. Then, after she has done her part, there will be questions and comments time. If you might have a question to the author or even to Madam Mrubula Ngwenya that you might have, that will be the time to, as long as they're based on the book, that will be the time to have those questions tabled. Then afterwards, we will be going towards the end of the program. It's going to be a discussion on her part. She's going to share with us her experiences going through the book, share with us what the book is all about. Then after that, we'll be taking questions and answers. Those who are watching online, I've been talking to the technicians here. They tell me that on YouTube, there is that chat box where you can write your questions or comments. We will honor that this side. We will read them out, and if it's a comment and if it's a question, we'll also pose it on your behalf. And depending on who it is directed to, it will be responded to accordingly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together as we welcome here to take us through discussions from the floor. And the questions, Mrs. Samukezi Mrubula Ngwenya. Madam Ngwenya, over to you.
I wanted it to sit it down. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me also greet the university's management in absentia. Let me greet colleagues, head of departments, directors, academic staff, the administrative staff, students. Good afternoon. My name is Samugezi, and I am in the Department of Cultural and Political Studies. I teach gender studies, and I am also a grassroots activist. So I am one of the few people who had the honor to read the book, to engage with the book, and to understand what Mr. Malekane is saying to us. So the book, I will just be brief and try to summarize 29 chapters in like 15, 20 minutes. But I really hope that all of us, we can get a copy of this book, because it is a very important tool, especially as we are trying to find solutions against gender-based violence. So when I started reading the book, the first chapter, it started like very somber. So my thinking was, I really hope this is not another story that ends in tears, you know. I thought to myself, I really hope this is a story that ends with solutions or with a way forward. But the author did a very good job in bringing to us the attention of what is currently happening in our institutions of higher learning. But not only he brought to us that attention, but he attempted to give us solutions on how we can go about in the works of transformation. So the first chapter of the book introduces us to 5 young women who become very strategic throughout the book. One of them, I will mention one in particular because she becomes the center of the book. She becomes the main character of the book, who is Moja. The book opens with a scenario of a first-year student. As the author had mentioned, the setting of the book is at a university, at Wits University. So the book opens with a first-year student being sexually violated during orientation week. And this violation is perpetrated by what we call senior students, right? So we understand at universities that there's a culture where first-year students come, they are confused, they don't know where to go, and we know there are older students who try to show first-year students the way around. So the start of the book is opening up with that scenario. So I'm just going to share the themes that really stood out for me, or the attention that the author is bringing to us as we are navigating gender-based violence, finding solutions, and a way forward. So one of the themes that comes out for the book is the issue of normalized violence. That is to say, the way we exist in our societies and we have normalized violence. The violence that the author is talking about is sexual violence, the rape that happens or is perpetrated against the first-year student. He also talks about physical violence. We learn in the book that one of the character which eventually dies, Mary, is physically assaulted by the boyfriend, who is also a student at the university. We also learn of emotional violence, which is experienced by one of the characters who we get to know as Charmaine. And the violence is also perpetrated by the boyfriend. So the author is calling us to rethink or to question or to hold each other accountable to say, why have we normalized violence as a society? Why are we keeping quiet when we see that violence continuously happen? Another theme that really comes out very strongly is friendships and love. We get to understand as the book goes on that these female students form strong friendships and bond amongst each other. And the author was saying that you are here at the university as students who are transitioning from being an adolescent to an adult. So obviously, throughout that transition, you engage in relationships, you meet new people here. Sometimes the relationship lasts beyond the university, sometimes the relationship ends. That's why he mentioned that when relationships do end, it's okay. There's no need to contest the ending of a relationship with violence. And then we get also to learn on another theme that comes out strongly, which is, I termed it the power of coalitions. We see how the students in this story are working together collaboratively, and we see how Moja, as I had mentioned, she becomes a stronger character in the book, how she fosters coalitions and collaborations with the SRC, We know that the SRC is the strongest student body that governs and oversees students' needs. Moja also fosters strong coalitions with the university management, the VC. So she's able to do this to have influence so that she can influence policies and changes that she wishes to see happening in the university. Another theme that really came out strong for me was the new wave of activism that we see that comes out very strongly in the book. We see Moja, as I had mentioned, as the strong character from moving from being just a second-year accountancy student to be a very strong social activist. And this is also helped by the fact that she's personally invested in seeing a just world. She's personally invested to seeing a world that is free from gender-based prejudice and violence. So we see this activism that Moja is calling for is an activism that is united, an activism that is calling for collaboration, that is saying that men and women need to work together across gender lines. Another theme that I felt like we really needed to talk more about, and I think even beyond today's book launch, is understanding or recognizing the different environments and backgrounds in which we come from. We are sitting here today, all of us, and we are coming from very different backgrounds. We were raised differently, we were taught differently, we were socialized differently, and we've got different cultural beliefs. So what then happens is that our differences then, they tend to shape the person that we later become. The author has made a very interesting observation to say that some of the young men that became perpetrators were actually affected by the environments in which they come from. We learn in the book of the character by the name of Sizwe. He is the boyfriend of Charmaine, who has been continuously emotionally violating or abusing Charmaine. We learn of where Sizwe comes from and where his anger comes from, because Sizwe appears as a character that is very angry, short-tempered, very irrational. So as we learn in the book is that Sizwe was neglected by both his parents and dad since he was a small boy. So that anger, he grew up with that anger, and that anger turned him to be the person that he is today. So the author is really calling us to say, when we talk about finding solutions, we should also talk about our history as individuals. Where do we come from? What shaped us? What form of socializations did we get or received as we were growing up? Another important theme that I think came out very strong was the idea of challenging policies and systems of power. So Moja, as an activist and ultimately becoming the SRC president, she was able to challenge policies and call upon the university to create policies that are gender sensitive. I think our university has done that very well by introducing the gender desk, and the gender desk is open to everyone in the university, both staff and students. And I believe that the gender desk is on its way also to reworking and rethinking policies that are inclusive of everyone. So we learn in the book that there is a strong need to relook and rethink policies. I think this also goes just beyond the universities, but in the country as a whole, that there's a need to rethink and look at policies that are not easily implemented. And then there's another theme that I think I felt very happy when I see how the story ended, because our idea around the judicial, the police, and the criminal justice is that cases of GBV are never almost concluded, right? So in this story, we learn then that there was a positive response from the judicial. The perpetrators of violence were arrested, and they served the term that was given to them. But now the author is calling us to rethink, what does really justice mean? What does justice mean for the victim, and what does justice mean for the perpetrator? He's asking us to think, can we have a space of rehabilitation? Meaning that if a perpetrator is arrested and goes and serves the term, can we as a society accept that person back to say, no, he served his time, he is now a changed man? That is another important aspect that I found the author is relaying to us. We also learn of dealing with life itself, things that happen to us, loss, grief. Moja loses her mom, the mother dies, and the idea of navigating loss. How do we navigate loss? And how do we grieve, understanding that each of us individually, we grieve differently. But the author is bringing that to us to say, when we are faced with life-changing situations, how do we respond? Because some people tend to respond violently, but some people tend to reach out and get help when they are faced with life-changing situations. Then I bring it to, I think, the gist or the location of the book, which is the university, and of which where we are also are, and we are existing. So the author is asking us to look at the university as a site, the university or the institution itself in different ways. The first thing I picked up is that he's asking us to look at the university as a site of freedom and liberation, because what really happens is that when first-year students come to the universities, when they leave home, for them it's the beginning of freedom. They can now do what they probably couldn't do at home. They get to experience with a lot of things, alcohol, relationships, and all of that. So the author does say that a university can be that. He also says that the university can also become a place where students or young people can grow and they can carve their professional paths. Young people can realize their passions at the university, and they can solidify their passions by getting involved in different things that are available at the university. And also, but now he's ringing a bell to say, now, as we have seen in the past years, that the university has become a place of fear because of what has been happening. The violence that has been happening, the sexual violence that has been happening, the stigma, the discrimination, the lack of access to certain things. So he's calling us to say what can be done to truly transform the higher institutions to be places where young adults become active members of societies. I'm almost wrapping up, but I'm bringing now, it's also the title of the book, which imperatives of provoking silence. So what I felt the author is giving us as tools is what he mentioned, I just forgot the page number, where Moja, as the SRC president, created a declaration to say this declaration needed to be cited by all male students, right? And the declaration is saying that it's calling upon all men, right? Both men who are considering themselves as good citizens and men who have been perpetrators of GBV. The declaration is calling on men and everyone else to not be silent on issues of gender prejudice and violence, right? So for me, my understanding of this call or the entire book was that it's bringing an element of both feminism and womanism. Because feminism is an ideology, or it's a theory, or however you want to think of feminism, that is calling for equality between genders in all spheres of life, which is political, social, economic, right? And then womanism also is calling upon the same thing, but womanism is saying that we cannot achieve what we want to achieve without men. So the author is saying that in our fight against GBV, we should not leave men behind. I liked this so much, and it resonated with me because I recently, I think some of the guys are here. I recently had a gender talk, and it was just conversations with men. So male students attended the talk, and it was life-changing. It gave me an idea of which I brought to the gender desk, that men's voice has been silenced. And I think it's about time to listen to both men and women's voices. So when we are fighting, or when we are calling upon this change that we are seeking, we should also not be blinded to leave the boy child behind. So the book also, the message, or the message that came strongly for me is that silence is not always golden, right? Because we tend to be quiet about a lot of things, but then we talk amongst ourselves to say, but that was not right. So the author is actually saying that we should talk, we should call upon injustices that are happening around us. We should be able to have a voice so that we can have the transformation that we are seeking for, right? But the call, or the transformation that we are seeking, as emphasized by the author, is saying that we should not leave men behind. It's whether men as perpetrators or men as victims, men should not be left behind. So another thing, as I'm wrapping up, that is very important is the idea of accountability, and how we can hold each other accountable, and how we can learn to lean on each other and find the solutions that we are looking for. I really do commend the author for bringing this important work, especially because our idea of GBV has always been looking at women and the girl child. But now the author is bringing us and giving us tools to say, let's look at the other factors that are contributing to what became known as the second pandemic in the country. So I also just want to say to everyone that if you can, please just get a copy and immerse yourself in the book and understand the dynamics and the different themes and the different ideas and the different tools that is brought to us by the author. I thank you.
Moja ascended the podium, maintaining a calm comportment expected of the rightful president of the SRC. She took a sip. I'm reading from page 216 of the book, The Imperatives of Revoking Our Silence. And what prompted me to, I didn't plan to read this, it's when Madam Samukezi Morubula Ngwenya, the one who just left the stage here, referred to this section of the book. I felt, let me just share it with the audience. I'm not going to read it long, but she talked about the imperatives which the main character here, Mojapelo Matibe, who is the main character, the lady here fondly referred to as Moja. Now she's elected as a president, and she proposes these imperatives of revoking our silence to the community of the University of Witwatersrand. And now the author comes to that part, writes, Moja ascended the podium, maintaining a calm comportment expected of the rightful president of the SRC. She took a sip from the bottle of still water as she prepared herself. Looking around at the many faces, she could see a true depiction of pain and anger. All those who attended were clad in black, a rainbow nation having been turned into mourners. Fellow students, dignitaries, and in particular, members of the Cohen family, that's Mary Cohen's family, the lady who just passed away, a fellow student who is a victim of the GBV. She extends greetings to them. And the community, welcome. We are gathered here today to celebrate a life cut short in a brutal manner. The invitation was titled Grieving Rally. I think it should be respected as such. We are here to grieve the early and untimely passing of a fellow student. While some might say this event is late, our pain and anguish is no less than during those tragic moments when our beloved sister was in distress. Her death was untimely, not least because the nature of her departure was horrifying and brutal. Nobody wants or intends to leave this beautiful world in the manner that her life was shortened. Today, we are assembled here to enable ourselves as students to reflect, declaring that what happened was completely unacceptable and unjust. We have invited the family of our late sister to participate and be assured of our support. They will also shed light on the impact of this act of savagery on the family and the community that knew and loved Mary. Our campus will be forever scarred by this psychological turmoil. We are at a crossroad, a stage in our lives where we are supposed to grow from adolescence into adulthood. We should not be experiencing tragedies of this kind and magnitude, as our young minds are still not mature enough to understand and bear such terrifying memories. We all aspire for our university to offer us a safe and healthy environment, cross gender lines. It is with heavy hearts that we bid farewell to a friend, a fellow crusader, and a lovely person. Thank you all for your overall response and attendance. May the Almighty guide your lives and grace you. The applause shook her steady nerves as she walked off the podium. She was overcome by the response and started shedding tears of emotion. The deputy president stood up and called upon the next speaker, who was a close friend of Mary's. Katlego walked onto the stage and introduced himself. I met Mary in the first week of lectures when we both arrived for our first year. We became very close friends. We actually had lunch together before she retired for the afternoon on that fateful day when she unfortunately met her death. As men, we need to ask ourselves profound questions. Where do we feature in the greater scheme of life? Why are our women marching and protesting by themselves? Do we hear their cries, and why are we so quiet? Are we men enough to admit our flaws? Are there imperatives that we need to reflect on? The following is my response, which I'm adopting as a recital. That's where now Katlego recites the imperatives which are meant to be not just shared, published, but to be also adopted by all the males. I'm not going to read all of it, I'm just going to read part of it, lest we run out of time. The imperatives starts on page 217. I'm a man born of a woman, the benevolent person who ushered me into this world. I had cried out loud, pleading mournfully with my Creator, expressing my longing to grace the world, seeking the human experience. He called on you, and you volunteered your body as a conduit, despite the acknowledged excruciating pain of childbirth. You incubated me. Your body was stretched to the limits. Your moods conflicting, affecting all around you. Irritability swarmed your being, but you endured unselfishly. Those near you tolerated changes in you, knowing they were temporary, to last only for 9 months. How brave you are. You shed precious blood when you strenuously pushed in anguish, welcoming me to motherland. Yet you smiled and loved my innocent face. You brushed aside the pains and precious blood lost in vain, thus forging a bond never to be broken. From your breast came the sustenance that nourished me into manhood. You raised and taught me the goodness in all of humanity. You taught me the morality of respecting other human beings. I turned into a young person you were proud of. Then my eyes opened to the world into which you brought me. I instinctively observed differences in us, the me and the you, the young mind misconstruing your femininity as weakness, my masculinity as a sign of superiority, the complementariness, my masculinity, the complementariness nature of existence never dawned on me, remaining a distance obscurity in mind. I erred in instigating comparisons between genders, leading to an unmitigated sense of misplaced pride. Comparison is a curse, making one feel either superior or inferior. I choose the former. Adopting this principle on the advice of my peers and contaminated influences of my surroundings in the outer world, a world bequeathed to us by our patriarchal forebearers. It continues into page 219, a beautiful imperative declaration. We are now on the question comments time, colleagues. I just wanted to appetize you through the beautifully written book, beautifully written. We have, as I promised, to acknowledge comments. Letabo Masha has written wonderful works, referring to Mr. Hosia Malekane. We need more work on such important issues, especially from male authors. Letabo continues, Letabo Masha, to comment on YouTube live chats. After today, where can we purchase the book? Van Skyke, that is the answer to that. Dikoletso Madire says, it's very important that men take rejection and live with it. Not everything in our life will always go as planned. Thank you, Mr. Malekane, for the informative reflection. Then we have Sir Norman Letebele, one of the staff members of the University of Limpopo, who writes, Malekane's book, it's reminding us as men to respect and protect women as they are the ones who brought us into this world by giving birth to us. Ke a leboga rra. Then we have one of the staff members here who's with the Center for Academic Excellence, Madam Agnes Morale. She has written, violence must seriously stop. It's capital letter STOP, and we know once we see that, when it comes to typed work, it means screaming, you know. That's why you don't have to write messages in all capital letters. It's like we're screaming all the way. So this one is its emphasis. Madam Mohale says, violence must seriously stop, both from men and women. Hashtag finding solutions for Africa. Thank you so much, Mr. Malekane. One of the staff members, Michael Sukhota, writes that Branomen now is addressing a fellow colleague, Mr. Norman Letebele, who is the director of Student Health Center. Sukhota says, Branomen, you need to organize main conference on campus to talk about GBV and femicide only. You are generating debates, Malekane. Thank you for, you see, already colleagues are already talking among themselves. We have Melford Morewani. What I like the most in this book is the fact that I can hear gender balance towards the GBV topic. 100%. It's not all about males are trash, but it's about noting the problem and giving optimal solutions. Lungelo Nkambule writes, glad to be part of the interesting book. I can't wait to buy it. Thank you, Mr. Malekane. Neo Faith Ramaila has written, this is wonderful, say. Well done. Lindy Mogaramedi writes, I love that the book also says men must not be silenced. If they are abused, they must speak. Kamugelo Matebula writes that, we thank you so much, Mr. Hosia. As a young lady, I feel I am very inspired. Kamugelo Sharon will be worth it to purchase the book. Will be worth it to purchase the book. Now we're entering, as we are going towards the end, it's your time now. If you can request the roving mics there to be ready. If there are comments, I've been reading out comments from people who are online. Now we're giving them the chance. Now it's your turn. Do you have questions? Do you have comments? Please show that by standing up so that a mic can come to your attention. Those who have questions, there is a roving mic, a question, a comment. There is one. Ma'am, you are just passing him on your left. There is another one. You saw another one. All right. Question, comments, time. Over to you.
Thank you very much.
If you can introduce yourselves first, friend. Please take to your feet.
Thank you very much, Chairman of the session. My name is Bruta Slope. Mine is very much simple. I've heard the comments there on YouTube. Indeed, we need men's conference because there's a lot that men are suffering from and they are not voicing out. So I wanted to ask a question. If you need the book, how much is it? Thank you.
All right. Great.
Thank you very much. My name is Ali Jr. I think Ms. Mrula, if I'm correct, Her background is from political science and cultural studies, if I'm correct. The causes of violence are very complex and multifactorial, and the public discourse that takes place after the incidents of violence, they reflect how important this issue is to the community, particularly the university. So now, given that, I have two questions. The first one is that, are we really doing enough to put an end to gender-based violence, particularly in this university, as the book has the university setting? Another question is that, are there social practices or widely held beliefs within the community that are potentially increase the vulnerability of women to gender-based violence? Are there social beliefs and cultures that are widely accepted? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other? There is one on the other end there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's Mani Joanna Washing from Youth Transformation. We're dealing with the mindset of the youth in our organization, and we're dealing with the morality and humanity of youth. I would like to pass my appreciation to Ntate Malekane for joining us, because really our students are our investment, as they still belong under the youth. So, Ntate Malekane and the guests at large, I'm a product of severe abuse. So, I ended up becoming who I am now. That is why I ended up writing this book, Break the Chains and Get Moving. So I managed to study a lot of things that helped me to break from the chains of the severe abuse that I was in. So Ntate Malekane, I would like to know that since you have uprooted the cause roots of GBV, according to you, is it enough for the book to be here? Or maybe you have got other means when you were writing the book, because I see you are old, but you are still concerned about the youth. Do you have something that you can put, you can help the youth? Because our nowadays youth, they are not reading types. So what about if you come with another strategy whereby you can help them? Maybe you come with dialogues, you come with seminars, you come with camps, you invite people, you invite the other youth from outside so that they can find themselves and their identity and become focused, because they can become something tomorrow. And the other thing is, since I said I'm a product of severe abuse, men are silenced. Women, they talk more than 700 words in a day. So I just want to ask, Ntate Malekane, did you, when you uprooted between the two, men and females, did you find out who is the main cause of the problem, the pandemic that we are in? Because with mine, it was caused by my mother. And it was because of the situation where she grew in. So let's check this thing. I'm the woman who carried these babies. All these babies, I'm the woman. They are from my womb. Now, who is the cause? When we go biblically, socially, psychologically, who is the main cause? If we can find the main cause, I think, sir, you will be helping us in order to get out of this problem, of this pandemic that we are having. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let us close this round here. We will come back if there will be still questions afterwards. We have 3 questions on the floor. Actually 3 speakers, and the last one asked about 2 questions. We are going to, as I'm giving the chance for our author and the guests of honor here to respond, let me revisit the other comments that came in and comments on the online platform. We ended up with Kamralo Sharon, who said will be worth it to purchase this book. Then we have Gillian Pilusa, who says, I love how this book allows men to have a say in GBV. Thank you, MR. Then Surprised Like Matosi writes that I loved the summary. This could make a great movie. Powerful words. Maybe it augments what the last person there asked about. Is there anything to augment what the book talks about here? This one talks about Surprised Like Matosi says, I love the summary. This could make a great movie. Powerful words. Then Motlala Musupulugo. This seems to be a very informative book. It focuses on a very sensitive topic. We need to find a way to distribute the book to disadvantaged areas too. The message must be spread. Then Basani Mabasa Mangani writes that, thank you, Mr. Malekane, for your insightful book, bringing solutions to GBV challenges. Samukelo, your summary of the book was great. I think I have a reason to purchase the book. Then Matamela Obedience says, Mr. Malekane, how long did it take for you to write this book? Mr. Malekane, how long did it take you to write this book? Then Elizabeth Logodi says, good job with a sign. Then Michael Ramavunga says, South Africa needs people like you, Mr. Malekane. GBV needs to be fought against indeed. And this book itself, it's fighting against it. We are inspired as the UL students. May God bless the works of your hands. Then Chifiwa comments, worth purchasing, just that. Then Renaindo writes, congrats to my former boss, Mr. Then Lillian Kesara, wow, this is amazing, sir. Mr. Mhlake, I have questions though, in all, ha, to you too. All right, the first question was, how much is the book, where do we get the book? As we mentioned at the beginning, just outside on the foyer there, as you came in, you probably registered. When you register there are tables there. We have Van Skyke, it's right there. So the retailer, Van Skyke, sells it for 260 rands. It's 260 rand. But because today they are here on the premises, they respect the author, and they say, given the presence of the author, this will go at half the price of that. So instead of 280, it's 160. So you have 160, the book, The Imperatives of Revoking Silence. It's out there, your copy, it's waiting for you right outside those doors at 160. Online, sorry, is 280 unless you can arrange with someone. Please, not those who are here speaking, and no, someone in the hall, because I don't want their attention to be divided. That is the first questions that we had. Where can we get the book? For today only, right here, it's 160. You get it tomorrow, 280. You get it from retail stores. You get it from online or at the Vanskijk bookshop. It goes for 280. Is it what? 260. Goes for 260. Here, it's 180, right outside, 180. All right, we had questions, Ms. Marubula Ngwenya. There is this question that are we doing enough given your office being in the cultural and political studies as an academic there? Then after you, then on that one, we also have, as I introduced, the gender desk director. We have Professor Dr. Rapakwana, who is also welcome to, I'll give her the platform to also comment on the questions that came from the floor. Then let's not forget the author, the question that how long did it take you to go through this? Someone was curious. Then we have a question from the other side there. Are we all right? Are there things, social practices that condone these kind of things? Are there such, and how can they be addressed? Coming from your suggestion there. Then the last one was a double-barrel question. The first part was, are we doing enough? And the second one, is there anything that we can do to augment what the book says, or to make sure that the message that is in here, it's spread wide enough. It doesn't just die right in these pages, but it's shared with those people who might need it. The other second leg of the question was who is the main cause of this pandemic, and that is extended to the author. But in addition to that, colleagues who are in front here, you are most welcome to comment as you so wish. I thought 4 o'clock we will be out of here. It's 4 o'clock now. My apologies, but let's go with the flow. Over to you.
Thank you, Program Director, and thank you for all of you who have raised concerns and also the questions from the floor and also from those who are at home. The first one is that one of men's conversation is needed. Yes, you are right. We have already discussed it. We're discussing about this issue of men, because gender is not only for women. There are men who are dying silent. And as a university, we are going to organize, and we're busy, started organizing a men's conversation, which will be taking place in October. Therefore, it is our responsibility to make sure that also the platform is all for all of us. It's long that we've been taking care of a girl child, but now it is all our responsibility to say, yes, the boy child is also crying. Therefore, we need to listen and we need to talk to the boy child. And also, when talking to the boy child, it will also be another way of preventing the boy child to be the perpetrator. Are we doing enough to end GBV? It's not the responsibility of one person. It's all of us. We are supposed to hold hands to say, I'm ready to voice out. We need to say, I'm ready to support. We need to say, I'm ready to report. You need to say, I'm ready to stop treating others unfairly. Therefore, it's the responsibility of all of us, whether you are a man, whether you are a woman, whether you are any form of sexual orientation. It's all our responsibility to stand and say, yes, in one voice, we're ending GBV. Yes, the other question was about cultural beliefs. As you know, where we come from, men are always superior. Men are always given, because of their masculine, they are always pressing on women and children. That is why our culture has done a lot in making sure that this GBV become pandemic. But we are here, to change things. We are here to make sure that, even if you think you are a man, but you are not a man, your masculine, build-up is for you to protect. Then we're changing that, to see yourself as the protector of women and children. Even though we are from that background, we are here to change that mentality of thinking that, yes, I'm there to bully others, to sexually harass others. Or sometimes you are there, to sexually assault others. No, this is not the time. But the time is just to say we are here together, to work together to end the pandemic. Main cause of GBV. Yes, there are a lot of causes when we talk about GBV, because other causes are economic. Yes, because of poverty. Others are just staying in those relationships, being quiet, without saying anything. And because they don't know they don't have anywhere to go, or any place to go and talk to, or any person to support them. But all of us, we are the causes. All of us, we are responsible. We need to stand. And I thank you, Mama, for being there for our youth, so that our youth can grow up not the way our men are. They can be taught from a young age that you are there to support each other. Because in one of the conversations that Ms. Murubula had with the boys, they were saying, as men also, we don't have a platform to talk. We don't have a platform to cry. We don't have, always, also as men, they don't support each other. They are not there for each other. They don't love each other. Therefore, as the university gender desk will be available to make sure that the continuation of this conversation, we make the platform for that. And also, just like the community of LGBTQIA+, we have started the conversation last week, and we are continuing to make sure that as a community at UL, you are all responsible to protect and to take care of each other, irrespective of somebody's sexual orientation. I thank you.
Thanks for the illuminating questions. On the 29th of November last year, I was invited to University of Johannesburg by a friend of mine, Mike Teke. They had formed a men's forum. Professor Marwala and Mike Teke formed a men's forum, and they invited me to come and elaborate on the book. I will strongly encourage all our institutions, in the light of the horrific statistics I keep referring to form men's forum. For many reasons, a lot of the questions that are coming out today, and in particular coming from our young men, they need a space to discuss by themselves, and not as perpetrators, but as concerned citizens, calling each other and shouldering each other's woes, nurturing each other by themselves. I strongly encourage that. The Men's Forum at UJ has been there for about 2 years. It is doing very well. It is growing because there is a need, a platform where men can discuss and open themselves in a confined space, discussing problems that are encountering in their lives. There's been reference about where we come from, I think, our diversity. But fortunately, and the very reason why we're locating that as the university, we're saying we all come from different backgrounds, and as I said, we land up here as matriculants. But in 3 years' time, we are supposed to come out changed people. This is an institution and an opportunity for the nation to change and make you a change maker wherever you are going to go, to Bochum, to Nelspruit, wherever you're going back to, or where you're going to be working. What has happened in your earlier lives needs to be transformed. If it was positive, we are appealing to you to be the one person like Moja in the book and be the change maker to those who might need your support, to those who might need your wisdom. We're all coming from different backgrounds. When I was at the vets having the same discussion, there was a young man from Pokwane in Limpopo who raised up his hand and said, I come and listen and get transformed. But what happens when I get home, back home, where the abuse is still being pervaded? And my response was that, firstly, each and every one of us needs to acknowledge that we are here for a purpose. You are here to be transformed so that you can go back wherever you come from and be the change that they're aspiring. Yes, but what if my father has been the one who's abusive and I go back and he calls me to order? But that's not how transformation happens. You come here, you are not a pharmacist, but when you go back, you're going to be the pharmacy in practice. So when you go back to your community, that community has been aspiring for a change maker. They are looking forward to you coming back into that community, not as a mathematician only, or as a psychologist only. They want you to transform some of the ills that are in that community. So it's an obligation that you've got to acknowledge and live by. You've got to go back, starting with your family. Just announcing that, Dad, I'm happy I'm back, I'm now a BCom graduate. But there's this other thing that I was exposed to when I was at the university. I was enlightened to the effect that what you have been doing when I was growing up is not right. Obviously, you have to do that at a safe distance so that you keep safe. But you have to say it. When the leadership at the university put that cap on you one day when you leave here, they're expecting you to go back firstly to your family and make the corrections that family aspiring to. How are we going to change our communities if the people graduate here and go back and decide that, no, if I get my car and I'm able to build my family a new home, that's all that they expected from me? No. They are looking far more than your being a successful young person driving back home during Christmas or Easter holidays in your new car. Your mother, who might have been the person who's abused, or your father, who might be the person who's abused, is looking forward to you coming back and announcing those changes, that besides me being an educator now, I have learned other things, and I'm going to have a private discussions. For you just saying that, whether it impacts on them, really, that should not be your concern. But the fact that you have said it, it's enough. One day down the line, your father will be the one conversing with his friends. And now he's calling me to order, and I like that. He might not tell you that, but he'll appreciate that. And I think that's why we're saying that take advantage of the fact that you are in a transformative environment. There was a question about the reading culture. Yes, that is an issue today, especially with the advent of cell phones. We grew up reading newspapers, but even the cell phones, I mean, today even the Bible is in the cell phone. So people should take advantage, and maybe we are going to have to look at ways and means of accessing or addressing that reading culture by bringing books like this. This book is also, there is an e-book for those who don't want to buy a hard copy. You can download it, and there's a book. So we're trying to do that. And we are also going to be looking at other form of marketing to bring the topic in the discussion and make it more interesting. I think the structure of the book, it is a fictional story. It is made easy to read, as Professor Shana from UJ has referred, an easy to read book. It's not a textbook that you get where you're told, don't do this or do that. We're trying to make it readable, and we're going to be looking at other ways in which you can make it interesting to attract people who are not in the habit of reading. I think the issue about the main causes has been addressed. We are all responsible and take it upon ourselves to do this. Somebody asked about how long. It took me about 3 years to put it together, and it was published in November last year. There is this disconnect between our elders and the youth of today. And I wanted to refer to the incidents of Sekgofatso that we all come to know about. A young lady who got involved, firstly, with an unfaithful person, a married guy who got involved with her. That was the first thing which we don't condone, to be unfaithful to your partner. The second thing was that he got involved with her but never used protection. In this day of AIDS that has devastated families, in today's time, somebody who's unfaithful goes about to an innocent lady and he doesn't use protection. The worst thing was for him to take it upon himself when she announced that she was pregnant, to say the only way to address that was to terminate her life. Such a horrible decision. He's made so many mistakes, being unfaithful, not using protection, but then he goes and makes these horrible mistakes. Now, we come from a culture where our communities used to talk to each other. And when I grew up, such things did happen. It's not the first time that it is happening. But they were taken care of. You'll go to your aunt or you go to your rangwane and say, I made a mistake. This is what happened. What do I do? There's no uncle or aunt who would have advised this young man to go and terminate Sekgofatso's life. There's no responsible parent or it's a responsible society. All what this young man should have done was to seek help. And that's what we are appealing to everybody, like the guy who was responsible for the murder of Sikelo at Fort Hare. If you are confronted by a situation you cannot handle, please seek help. There is a gender desk if you are still at the university. There are peers, the good men. As Edmund Burke said in his quotation, which is universal, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. A lot of people out there, the majority of men are good men, but that's not enough. They should make themselves accessible to those who are in trouble, to those who seek them. And the boyfriend to Tseho Fatso should have been in a position to access the good men and say, Kisenche, how can we handle this? He would have been taken to task for having been unfaithful. He would have been taken to task for not having used protection, but no aunt or uncle or parent or guardian or community member would have advised him to terminate that young lady's life. There would have been a humane solution to that. So we need to talk to each other. We need to look after each other and be each other's keeper. Thank you.
All right, we are supposed to be wrapping up. Continuing on the online comments, we have the following quickly. Amos Baloyi, the author channel, says it is a wonderful project, sir. Congratulations on your new book. I am looking forward to reading it. Pumzile Sean Madida writes, good work, sir. Matakwana Tabang Jr. writes, so as the book says that men shouldn't be silent also, the thing is, even when men report such cases, they are never taken seriously because no man can ever be abused by a feminist. It's supposed to be a female, but then hopefully, then it stops right there. Matakwane Jr. continues, the book might, hopefully, the book might bring up change. That's what we're hoping for, Matakwane. Lesedi Valencia, thank you, Mr. Malekane. I believe if we are here in solidarity with this beauty of unity in our pain, we have to pledge to do something to make this country of ours a country which is safe. Kamogelo Machweni Munyela writes, good work, sir. The Sidesman Show writes, greetings, Mr. Malekane. Do you think it is good to write a book thanking myself and reflecting on my life journey from childhood to university experiences, reflecting on the obstacles I came across? That's a question. Lesedi Valencia writes, hashtag, a pandemic within a pandemic has been exposed. Thank you, Mr. Malekane. Then goes Viva to that. Linda Mogaramedi writes, but sometimes a boy child is laughed at when he speaks out. Letabo Mashar writes, I heard the gender desk director speak about men being the protectors of women, and I wonder, does that not contribute to burdening men with expectations? Letabo Mashar continues, expectations that further promote ideas that men should not be vulnerable, and vulnerability is a human trait. The last one, Basani Mabasa Manganyi. I think one of the situations is to look at the curriculum offered in the basic education sector. The GBV content should form part of the curriculum from foundation phase. Unless there is a burning question here, I'll just be requesting because those who were named in particular, the director, gender desk, and the author will be the ones responding to this as we are wrapping up. Unless there is a burning comment or a question there, if you can jump on your feet in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, just quickly, because we need to wrap up. It's 10 minutes before half past, we need to, if you can give the mic to.
Yes, I'm Mama Robo from Nursing Department. I just wanted to indicate that this is a good book that is challenging to us as lecturers as well, that the type of education that we provide to our students, it should be a composite type of a curriculum that includes the development of an educated person, that includes a person who would not be abusing the other person as a civic person. So it's really an important aspect, and some of us, our interests are around reproductive health, youth-friendly services, and school health services. And I've been part of one of the people who developed the youth-friendly services. It had an impact, it helped, and the dialogue does help. And we shall take part, some of us, in relation to the type of work that we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. There was a hand here, and there was the last one there. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mine is just a suggestion. I suggest that the book should also lay in the hands of high school students, because they are also applying for. Okay, as I said, mine is just a suggestion. I was suggesting that the book should also lay in the hands of high school students who need to know more of what happens in the university, especially grade 12s who are currently applying at higher institutions, and will be part of the orientations at the beginning of the year, as Mr. Malekane showed that GBV also took place during that time of the year, as first years are taken advantage of by some of the senior students.
All right, thank you. Round of applause also, thank you. Right there. No, right, so continue. Raise your hand there. So, yeah, right there.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I just want to make a comment that I realized that I came here to the wall for food, but Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. I was saying that I came here for refreshment, but after realizing that, after hearing Miss Muribulangwenya summarizing the book, I fell in love with the book, and I told myself that, okay, this book, I'm going to purchase it. So I realized that I came here for refreshment in the book. Thank you.
Madam, you'll be surprised that you might not be the only one. Thank you. All right. I won't be going to take my seat just to put pressure on those who will be coming to respond. I'll be standing here. Can I request the author? You will wrap up, gender desk, if you can come for the comments, the question that was given. Then after that, we'll be wrapping up.
Thank you for the questions, and most of them, they were comments. But what I just want to stress is that we are here in this together, and I'm still repeating that we need to work together. Gender desk is available, and it's not only for women or girls, it's for all of us. And also to shape it, to make it what we need it to be, is for us to come forth. I understand that there are those who are having problems, not on campus, but from homes, from their homes. Therefore, you must never say, I cannot report because this didn't happen on campus. You are also welcome if you want to report anything that happens to you, even at home. You know, I'm also urging men who are silent. Yes, men are silent because they say, oh, The subs are not listening to us, they are just loving us, they are laughing at us. And also at home, they say you need to man up if they want to say something. Gender desk is available for you to come and talk. And also, we are going to encourage that conversation among men so that also they can be taken seriously when they report cases. Thank you very much.
Author, if you can wrap up, please.
Thanks, Program Director, for having steered the ship with enthusiasm and a very happy spirit on a topic that is traumatic, but we have to come down and address GBV, address our society, and looking forward to all those who are here as our future leaders. We are looking forward for you to go and change the world which we are aspiring to. The last comment about the lady who came here for refreshments, I think there was a question about how are we going to address the lack of reading that is within our youth. And I think that's one of the ways I've said we're going to be creative. And the other way of being creative on this occasion was to offer refreshments. But we've managed to change and make an impact on one person. And as the program director mentioned, it is more than one person, it might be a few. In terms of are we doing enough? The encouragement which came out of the research I was doing when putting the book together, looking at overseas, US, UK, and even in India, where GBV is very rife. We might be saying we are amongst the societies that have high prevalence, but you read about the issues in India, they are very horrifying to a large extent, even worse than where we are today. But then what the institutions are doing, which is well advanced, is having a fully fledged department of gender and sexuality studies. Some of you might not be aware of the distinction. You know, your gender is binary, male and female, but then we have the LGBTQIA community. That's why we keep referring to gender and sexuality orientation. Those departments matters, not everybody at university will get involved. But if we got a community of a fully fledged department of gender and sexuality studies, the students in that department will be part of the greater community. They will make the discussions on GBV advance to that extent, and I'm really very much looking forward to an institution of which contributed to making me who I am, to have a fully fledged department, just like they have philosophy and English with professors. We need to have that gender and sexuality department, studies department, with its own professors and what at all institutions, which is what I'm encouraging. There was also an issue about orientation week, which I will. In the book, I do refer that the first program on the orientation, the first item on the orientation program should not be about where to find the library at Teflop when you arrive here on your first day. I'm advocating for the first item orientation program to be gender discussions. The library will find it somewhere on the last day of the orientation. That is very sensitive because it's on that first day when you have all these people who are arriving here. It is a transformative stage. They've been under guidance of parents, some of whom have been very strict, and they are looking forward to it. In that confusion, that's when some of these things happen, and some of them will be harmed to the extent that years later, they might not be able to reflect on what happened because they were still in a hazy mood. So that orientation week and the first day should actually prioritize the discussions on gender and inform those who are on prep that please don't accept this as the norm. And even a warning to your senior students that please don't take advantage of the most vulnerable, who are the people coming here. And I would like to thank everybody, the leadership and the community of students and those who are attending virtually for having afforded me the opportunity. I hope the humble contribution I've made will have an impact in the future. And I'll be watching those statistics 3 years to come to say those who are graduating today, are you going to be your brother's keeper or your sister's keeper? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hosia Malekane, who also gave the closing remarks and the vote of thanks, continuing with the spirit of the Thanksgiving. Let us recognize one who will come and do the other part of Thanksgiving. Madam Mariana Williamson Southern, over to you. Let's you come.
As the last remarks, I just want to give thanks to the committee that we have established at the university. There's collaboration between the marketing department. So thank you for the marketing communications department. There's the library, there's faculty members, there's the gender desk. So this is basically just to give thanks to them. Thank you.
Do you want to see what's in? All right. Mama Tlake is not here. Usually she's the one who, when I go to places, she's the one who receives these and opens them, and I get them from her. So let me go home first, and she opens, then I will come back and show. All right. The vote of thanks have already been extended to everyone here. Let me repeat. You are most appreciated for being here, being lovers of knowledge, and not just those who want to cram, get cum laude, pass, and be useless out there. We appreciate you having said, although it's not part of my curriculum, but I am going to attend this because I love knowledge. As we go out there, someone there was saying, I was here for swallowship, but then I got a lot from the fellowship. And I know people who like saying, no, without fellowship is not good. All right. What we have out there, it's from the author's pocket. It's a matter of saying, please accept this humble thank you for coming. It's not a meal, it's just a drink, okay? And as you get that drink, please receive it with the heart with which the author is extending it towards you, to thank you for coming here. It's just a drink. Don't worry, food will be there. Thank you for those who acknowledge. Thank you. And thank you. As you are receiving it, think of your sister who's coming behind. Think of your brother who's coming behind. Don't intend taking everything, okay? Whatever you're given, please take and move on. Thank you and all of the best. The copy is out there, 160, right out there. It's available. Thank you.